Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the book of Job. If you were with us last time, then you'll remember that Elihu, this young man that had witnessed this whole conversation between Job and his friends, is now it's now his turn to speak. And he spoke at first. He was kind of calling out Job's friends for being kind of useless friends. And now he has turned his attention towards Job, and that's where we were last week, and that's where we're going to continue this week in chapters 35 and 36. So in chapter 35, Elihu, he's really pretty hard on Job. He calls him out here for questioning where God is through all of this, because we remember that Job has been questioning God and questioning how God is gone, and he wants to know where God is through all this. And God is never gone. That's the important thing to remember. Even when we can't feel him, God is still there. So Elihu continued, and humanity's righteousness doesn't give God anything that he doesn't already have, and humanity's unrighteousness doesn't have an adverse effect on him. And that's kind of what he's saying there in verses 3 to 7. But our actions do affect other people who suffer the consequences of our unrighteous actions. How we live and respond to adversity influences others. God provides human beings with songs in the night. He gives us more understanding than the animals, yet the animals don't complain to God that they don't see him and they can't make their case before him. So Elihu is pointing out that, you know what, Job, even if you're going through something rough, at least we have the opportunity to reach out to God. We have the opportunity to speak to him. We have the opportunity to verbalize what's going on to God. And that's something that we can remember here, that how we live and how we respond to adversity does have an influence on other people. When things are going wrong in our lives and people see us just complain as Christians and as God's people, when we have things go wrong, we just blame God and we complain, we get upset and we get super negative. That's not a good witness. We're showing people that that's what one of God's people does, and that should not be the case. And that's what Elihu is calling out Job for here, because that's what Job's done. It's even if he hasn't sinned, what he's doing, he's not looking good for God, right? He's not making God look good with the way he's acting, and that's what Elihu is saying here. And Elihu also points out that God is mighty, but he despises no one. He is the supreme being, but this doesn't make him too lofty to show kindness to the lowly. He judges the wicked and he delivers the afflicted. And in fact, God rescues the afflicted by their affliction. So here Elihu returned to the theme of divine discipline. He warned Job not to turn to iniquity because this is why he was tested by affliction. So to quote the author of Hebrews, no discipline seems enjoyable at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. And that's from Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. So whatever God intends to teach you through your trials, it is always for your benefit. And that is something that we need to remember. When we are going through trials, we might not understand why. It might and it probably will hurt as we're going through it. But it's happening for a reason, and God is teaching us through it. We may not always know what he's teaching us, but in the end, we will be better for it, even if it didn't seem like that was possible at the time. And that's kind of what Elihu is pointing out to Job. And so, but if we're going to be honest here, Elihu seems pretty like arrogant himself, right? I mean, at first he was kind of a lot like he was a lot like Job's friends. Really now, at first he kind of had the high ground because he's just listening to all these people complain and he calls them out for it. But now Elihu is kind of doing a lot of what they were doing. He's pointing out all these things, and even though he may be right, they're not really always. It's not really what I would call helpful. So he points out the greatness of God, and that's something that he really shows there in chapter 36, where he's talking about how great God is. And so God is so great, and he's not going to, nothing is outside of his power, and he rescues those that are afflicted. And even though he is so powerful, there's no one that he hates, there's no one that he despises. And so he's not going to punish you just for fun, just because he hates you. And so Job surely has done something wrong if he's getting all these punishments, is what Elihu thinks. And so if that sounds familiar, he has kind of slidden down into the same spot where Job's friends are, which is where we started and where he started to call out his friends, and he was unhappy with Job's friends because they didn't know what they were talking about, and here Elihu is brought himself into that same exact spot. So I hope I hope you'll be able to take something from this, and I think if you're looking for a main theme in this reading today, it's just the reminder that I love that Hebrews passage, Hebrews 12:11, that when you're being disciplined, it doesn't feel good when it's going on. Okay, when you're going through something, when you're going through something difficult, when life is hard, it does not feel good. But God is going to use that, and you're going to be able to grow, and you're going to learn something from that. And I think that's a great thing that we can take away from this reading here today from Job chapters 35 and 36. So that's all. I will see you back here tomorrow in the book of Jeremiah.